Amazing. All right, well, coming up tonight on your only local news at 5:30, we're learning more about local school plans.
Reopening the schools this coming fall. What might it look like? I'm Tom Adams. Just ahead, Lane County school leaders warn it won't be the same as before.
Coming up tonight, we've seen the BLM movement take shape, but what about its history and where it's going in the future? I'm Angelina Dixon. Tonight we speak to an associate professor here at OSU on the details with that.
American Mattress specializes in your comfort, and that in
Western Oregon. This is NBC 16 News at 5:30.
And thank you for joining us for NBC 16 News at 5:30. I'm Kendall Bartley. Local school districts in Oregon are deep into planning for back to school this fall, but what will school really look like? NBC 16's Tom Adams did some checking today with 2 districts in Lane County. Tom, what did you find out?
Well, Kendall, it's basically up to local school districts to come up with plans that will pass muster with the Oregon Department of Education and health authorities, both state and the counties. Right now, it is a waiting game. Oh, the good old days. School kids on campus and no coronavirus in sight. And what's ahead for this fall? Districts are in the middle of major planning, trying to figure out whether teaching will happen on site and on campus, or through distance learning, or something else.
It might be a mixture of in-building learning. Certainly we're going to have some online learning, some distance learning as we've had before.
Mary Walston of the 4J School Board says they're working from a blueprint handed down last month by the Department of Education, guidelines for how schools should operate amid COVID-19.
But I can tell you 100%, they're not going to look like they did in March, on March 12th.
Walston adds there are a ton of variables to try to figure out.
Busing, how do we get kids to school if we have to keep them 6 feet apart?
In Lowell, Superintendent Johnny Matthews says the busing issue is probably going to lead to staggered schedules. But based on an early registration event in the district, parents are quite clear about one point.
We've never done it at the end of the year before, but these parents were very, very ecstatic about handing their registration packets in, hoping their kids would go back to school in the fall.
For President Trump, those plans can't come together soon enough. He threatened this week to yank federal funding from schools if they don't reopen.
I understand what he's trying to do, I think, but he actually has no authority over local school districts.
The Eugene School Board gets the draft reopening school proposal at a meeting set for August 5th. And we'd like to find out what you think about all this. Do you think schools should fully reopen for classes this coming fall? Join our poll on the KMTR News Facebook page and let us know what you think.
Thanks, Tom. Meanwhile, here is where coronavirus numbers stand. OHA reports 389 new confirmed and presumptive cases. There are now more than 11,000 cases. 6 more deaths were also reported, raising the state total to 230. OHA says the recent increase in cases are linked to workplace outbreaks and community spread. These are the total number of cases in our region. Here in Lane County, we have 271. Lane County Public Health reported 18 new cases today. Health officials say travel-related cases went up to 20%. This is people came back from places like Texas, Arizona, California, and Florida. As for the cluster at El Torito that we reported on yesterday, health officials don't believe that people shopping at the store were at risk of contracting coronavirus since the employees were wearing masks. And as for the college cluster, another case was added, making that 52 cases total. Out of the 271 total cases, 79 patients are infected. 1 patient is hospitalized. And new data reveals that young adults are the largest group in Oregon coming down with the virus. OHA's latest update shows about 1 in every 5 confirmed cases involve someone between the ages of 20 and 29, roughly 2,300 people, and that is more than all of the recorded Oregon cases for people ages 60 and above. About 1 out of every 9 people infected have been hospitalized. Happening right now, there is free coronavirus testing for the Latinx community at the Cottage Grove Library. It ends at 7 tonight, so there is still time. Lane County Public Health says the Latinx cases have jumped to 30.6%. They are asking people to bring insurance. Plans to enter Phase 2 are now on pause in the Portland metro area. Multnomah, Washington, and Clackamas counties decided to hold off on applying for the next phase tomorrow. Clackamas County is asking the governor to break up the tri-county group so that they can continue to apply for new phases individually. Until then, all 3 counties will remain in Phase 1. Clackamas County officials say they currently match 4 of the 6 health indicators to advance to the next phase, and regardless of what the governor says, they'll plan to reapply for Phase 2 at that point. However, there's no timetable for any of these counties entering Phase 2. The Eugene Mission has reopened their doors for overnight and weekly guests, and despite the pandemic, they've actually created a new service to help the homeless population. NBC 16's Cassandra Gutierrez breaks it all down for us.
After sheltering in place for months, the Eugene Mission is now able to offer overnight services for about 20 guests.
We all have a heart for outreach, and it's been really hard to not get that connection with some of those guests that we've been missing. So it's nice to get some familiar faces and also see some new people and give them some hope.
She says in a time of darkness, the uncertainty brought out the best in the guests that chose to stay at the site.
And what we saw was this really crazy buildup of community. They became a family in this time that they could have been really scary, and they chose to connect together.
Since the pandemic, the mission has been able to kick off a new life skills program.
The RQ program is designed around meeting people where they're at. So any age group, any habits, hurts or holdups, whatever is keeping them here, we are accepting those folks to come through.
The 3 R's stand for rescue, revitalization, and restore.
It gets that guy off the streets. It gives him a reason to fix some problems that he has and to get on track. And then we help restore them back into the community.
Staff say the changes have brought the mission closer.
And just getting to know one another, and we're really getting to know our guests better. And it's just been so impactful to see people smiling and flourish and ready to take the next step to get out of here.
Coming together and flourishing even through difficult times. Reporting in Eugene, I'm Cassandra Gutierrez.
Some Eugene restaurants are reporting a drop in business since the governor required everyone to wear masks in public indoor spaces. Owner of Elkhorn Brewery, Stephen Sheehan, says dine-in traffic is down about 40%. However, business is still much better than when the pandemic started. He says a few customers have had an issue with the mask policy.
So it's really, really hard to have young employees try to police people from not wearing masks. We're doing it, but it's really, really, really hard, and it takes a toll on my employees because some customers aren't really nice about it.
Sheehan is asking everyone to please comply with the mask policy. Let's take a look at weather with Alan Matthews. Alan, I would say if you're uncomfortable with the mask policy, maybe take the food to go and eat it outside.
I would agree with you. I've been doing my best for the to-go with my local restaurants as best as possible. So we've gotten some great meals doing that, and I just love going out to eat though. So. One of these days we'll get to go out and do that. Make a sentence. Anyway, let's take a look at what's going on with our weather forecast as we get you out the door this evening. Temperatures are in the low 70s here in Eugene, 73 with a partly cloudy sky. Winds are calm, humidity at 55%. High temperatures mid to upper 70s along the I-5 corridor. Roseburg hitting 81, seeing temperatures in the 60s along the coast. And as we take a look at your radar satellite, you can see that area of showers just kind of briskly moving through the area in between Corvallis and Eugene. Eugene just reporting a trace of precipitation this afternoon. We'll see the cloud cover linger tonight into the early morning hours, and then things should clear out for your Friday afternoon. Your weekend forecast is on the way. Kendall?
Thanks, Alan. The influence of the Black Lives Matter movement could make waves in Oregon and the country. We spoke to an OSU professor and author about the movement and where it may go. NBC 16's Angelina Dixon reports.
The BLM movement has grown so much, but what about its history and where it's going in the future? It may influence more than we know. Christopher Stout is an associate professor at OSU and a two-time author with books covering race and politics. After the many protests all over the country, he talks with us about the Black Lives Matter movement.
One thing that's really interesting to me is why now? Why hasn't it happened 20, 30 years ago? Because we haven't seen really a large uptick in the amount of police violence or police brutality. It's just now that it's getting a lot of attention.
But has changed with recent police killings, including George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, pushing the country to a tipping point. In an upcoming discussion Stout plans to have with students, he talks about where the movement has been.
The Rodney King tapes in Los Angeles, and saying this happened and this led to a riot, but we really didn't see changes in public opinion, and we didn't really see a lot of policy change. If you fast forward almost over 20 years later, almost 25 years later, with the shooting of Michael Brown in Ferguson, you saw that it led to a social movement which was relatively sustained, and that social movement resonated with elected officials.
Stout says the BLM movement now has the power to influence things like police reform. The reform is something Governor Brown has recently made into law after the last legislative special session. But there's one more thing Stout believes the BLM movement will impact before the year is over.
I think the demographics of the Black Lives Matter movement are probably going to benefit Joe Biden more than Donald Trump, particularly as public opinion has swung in support of Black Lives Matter. So assuming that this will be sustained, which is in the past been the case, you should see higher levels of black turnout now than you've seen in the past, and that tends to benefit the Democratic Party more than the Republican Party.
He says only time will tell. In Corvallis, I'm Angelina Dixon reporting.
Stout is holding a virtual science pub soon to talk more about the BLM movement and its impact on the nation. It starts at 6 p.m. Monday, July 13th. Coming up on your only local news at 5:30, the OCF is going virtual this year. What you can expect from the comfort of your own home.